This is Amy Gray-Cunningham, and you are listening to the Butterfly Kisses podcast, a journey of spiritual transformation. It has been my pleasure to speak with some amazing people who have had profound spiritual awakenings. Throughout these conversations, may you experience a life filled with joy, love, and personal growth. Now let's get going. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Butterfly Kisses, a journey of spiritual transformation. I am your host, Amy Gray-Cunningham, and thank you for joining me today. It's another special event or a special podcast with my friend Dana Sardano, who is an artist and an author, and we're going to learn more about her and her transformation as she went from working in the corporate world, making a six-figure income, to painting and writing and learning more about her true authentic self and worthiness and what it means to feel worthy in our own bodies and self-acceptance. It's a very inspiring conversation today, and I hope that you will take the time to listen all the way through. And also, please make sure you check out her artwork on our website. You can find the links in the show notes below. And without further ado, please help me welcome Dana Sardano.
Well, thank you, Dana, for joining us today. I am so excited to have you on Butterfly Kisses. I know we're going to have so much to talk about, and you are just fabulous. I love the paintings behind you. For those who are listening to the podcast, you can't see Dana's artwork behind her. They are absolutely gorgeous. So I wanted to give a shout out that you need to go to her website because she has some on there and also on her social media posts, which will be in the show notes after it's done. So Dana, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for the shout out about my art. I appreciate that.
It's fabulous. If I get lost in the questions, it's because I'm looking at your paintings behind you.
Yeah, nothing subtle here, right? Like I am not afraid of color by any means.
I love the color. There's color everywhere. It's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Well, tell us a little bit about who is Dana and how did you get into writing books and sharing WooWoo?
Sharing the WooWoo.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So right now, we're talking about my artwork. I'm sitting in my art gallery. It's called Ubuntu Fish Gallery. It's an artist's gallery and an intuitive lounge. So we're just going to start there and move backwards. So my background is in education. I was an educator for about 25 years. I taught high school, college preparatory school, worked with kids with learning disabilities. I rounded out my career as the director of student development. And for many years, I was actually director of student development in a private school and, mentored the teachers, worked with the administration. Really, that was it. There was nothing artistic about anything that I did. And my job, I wore a couple hats. One was to work with kids that had different learning styles, and the others was as the dean of students. So I'm suspending kids for a living and yelling, getting yelled at by parents and fighting the administration, all of that. Again, nothing artistic. And then in January of 2015, and I always joke when I say by happenstance, because we all know what that means, by happenstance, I picked up a paintbrush for the first time since I was like a kid, since I was like in high school, and haven't been able to stop. And here we are. There's more to the story, obviously, but here we are.
Wow. You have been doing this style of artwork since just 2015. It looks.
Yeah.
Wow.
And can I tell you the story of like how?
Yes, I'd love to. Yes.
So I met my husband. I had two small children, little, like right out of the wrapper. They were like 1 and 2 years old when I met my husband. I was clearly single. Well, maybe not clearly, but just to be clear, I was single. And so my husband and I got married. My kids were young. And on Fridays, we had this wonderful babysitter that would say, enjoy, have a a newlywed sort of life, and I'll take the kids. So we would go do Target and Costco, whatever, and come home to the kids. And one Friday, I was actually tutoring for the SATs and hanging out, and the kids doing the work. And I texted my husband. I said, you know what? Let's go to one of those painting with a twist class. I saw an advertisement, I think on Facebook, like a painting of an elephant, and it was this thing. And he was like, no, I'm not going to go hang out because I want to do something different. I'm not going to go hang out with a bunch of ladies, drink wine, and, paint things. He's like, but I'll take you to Michael's. I'll buy anything you want, and we'll go home and we'll paint at the dining room table, in our pajamas. Like, we don't have to go out. So we go, we have no idea. We go to Michael's, we buy like the economy thing of canvases, and we have no idea. We're like little kids. So we go, we do our thing. And I remembered the picture of the elephant from the ad. And I said to my husband, like, he likes elephants. I'm like, Robbie, I'm going to paint you an elephant. And I show it to him. I mean, obviously it took longer than that. And I show it to him, and he was like, oh my God, I think you're good. And that day, something awoke in me that had lain dormant, oh my God, since I'm like a teenager. And I always showed hints of creativity and hints of promise, but every night I would come home from my work, from my soul-sucking job, and I would put feed my kids, put them to bed, and sit at the dining room table and paint. And I just painted every day. And I painted for months, just painted. And I would go on the internet and I'd find pictures and I'd paint. And then within a few months, I found my voice. I painted my first painting of a woman and her child. And I was like, ooh, mother-child paintings, that's my thing. Then I started painting independent women. Then somebody said to me like 6 months later, hey, if I paid you, would you do it? I was like, if you did what? And then I realized that I could get paid for things like this. So then I started quickly doing the what are they called? The art shows, the art shows come in South Florida. So like they're all year. So I started doing the local art shows and the artisan markets, and, just giving paintings away to anybody who would take them, hanging them in my office at school. And so it started January 15th, and this evolved. And then and all the signs were there that I should leave my job, but, I was ignoring them because I was getting paid 6 figures and it was stable, and you didn't do things like that. And then the following year, by June of 2016, so a year and a half later, the writing was on the wall that there was no longer room for me at this job, that I was there for 16 years. And again, and in the career for, 20 plus years. And that August, the moment the school opened up, I walked into my principal's office and I said, you've got me for one more year. I can no longer do this when I know I can do that. And so by June 2017, I left my job, and again, with no promise of anything. So I went from 6 figures to 0 figures, and had to sell my husband that was a good idea.
How did he take that? Honey, I've been thinking conversation.
It's crazy because I mean, my husband, they don't get any better than him. He really is amazing, but he is the T crosser and the I dotter, has a little anxiety, and everything has to be just right, and I'm like, we could do anything. We could conquer the world. And it creates, a little bit of friction sometimes, but he saw what was happening. He saw I was unhappy at my job. He saw that I had this creativity, and it made me a better mother, made me a better human, made me, I had joy. Like, I love doing this. And he said to me, if you're serious about doing this, he's like, we have to sell the house. We need to buy a more affordable house. Meanwhile, just got married, remodeled, because it was my house, because I didn't want to move, because I wanted my children to be in the house they were born, So we completely remodeled my house, put an addition. I drove a fancy car, and we lived by the beach in Fort Lauderdale. Like, it was really a beautiful life. That we could barely afford, right? And he said, we're going to sell the house. We moved out to a rural area, and he's like, and you have to give me the keys to your fancy car. I drove a Mercedes at the time. So without hesitation, I handed him the keys. We put the house on the market. We had moved within 6 months.
Wow.
That's my husband.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm so glad he was so supportive. I mean, look at what you're doing now.
He's the only reason. And I'm really doing, I mean, if I may say so myself, some pretty spectacular things that I had no idea were even like in me, you
Mhm.
know, and I couldn't do any of it without him. He's my rock. He's awesome. He's amazing.
That's amazing. So why do you think you suppressed your creativity for so many years until 2015? What was the
Survival. When we, when we are, can I talk chakras for a minute?
Oh, go for it. Love chakras.
Let's talk chakras.
Let's
But
talk it.
as our base chakras, the root, sacral, solar plexus, when they are out of whack or misaligned, or we have traumas, childhood traumas, or any trauma, well, mostly childhood, because those are developmental time, that haven't been addressed properly, we create beliefs about ourselves, right? And then those beliefs create patterns, and then we go into our lives wondering, why does life happen to me? And my chakras were all banged up, and I just I followed the rules. I did what I was like. I went to college and I got a professional job and I did all those things, but I really struggled in the areas that you would struggle if your chakras are all banged up. And through my adult life, we're talking later, we're talking about like probably late 30s into my early 40s. I'm 51 now. So I started not even realizing I was beginning the spiritual journey. Right now, you know what I mean? You start doing things, going, enough is enough, and you make these changes, and then it gets easier, and then you make another change, and then you're on this beautiful road, and then it's really turns out it actually is a spiritual journey. So that's why my creativity wasn't expressed, because my lower chakras were in such disarray that I didn't even have time for what was in my heart chakra, what was in my authenticity of my throat chakra, what was in my imagination of my third eye, my connectedness with my crown. Who's got time for that when you're just trying to get through life,
That is a very good, there's so many times that we're not grounded in our humanness, I guess, and we don't allow ourselves to express, because we're so afraid of losing what we think, either we don't have or we want.
Yeah.
And so we stuff and we hide. And I did that. I kept myself small. I didn't want to be seen.
Yeah.
So how did you overcome? I know your husband supported you, but when you went to go sell that first painting, or, what was that like for you? Were you excited or were you terrified?
Oh, I had to make a decision when it wasn't about selling the first painting. It was about the first art show that I did. So we bought the tent, right? And it was in my town, because I lived in like a touristy town. So it was perfect, because it was my home, I was in the home turf, right?
Yeah.
But we had to buy a tent. I had to go through the, where you send pictures to the art committee and they have to approve you and all of these things. And I had to make a decision. Let me backtrack. We go, I'm there, I've got all my paintings, and my guts are out, there. And I'm like, and I have like this little rug that I put out, like I made it like beautiful, and people will just walk by. And then every once in a while, somebody would connect. But with what I learned was, you don't want everybody to connect, right? I'm not vanilla ice cream. I don't want to be okay with everybody. Like I'm bear claw. Like there's only like 2 out of 10 people that are really, really going to pick up what I'm putting down. And so I had to accept that not everybody loves you. Like there were so many lessons, or people will walk by and they go, oh, where did you get that rug? And I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, so I had to come to accept, if I was going to do this, that I had to ignore my critics. You mentioned something about fear before, you were afraid to be big. You were afraid to, people are afraid to, and it's really fear. And I had to like really let go of the fear, decide that if I really want to do this, I have to follow what's in my heart, follow what feels good. And if again, ignore my critics, those who say you can't be an artist, you're going to leave your 6-figure job. Who does it? That's that's unstable, or that's irresponsible, or don't you know there's starving artists? And my response is always, do I look like I've missed a meal to you? You know what I mean? Like, So that was really it. If I could give anybody, some pearls of wisdom I picked up along the way, the big one is ignore your critics. And if something feels good, and not momentary good, like that real, truly in the guts feels good, then you got to just let go of the fear and trust that that's leading you to where you need to go.
That is such great advice, because not many people are willing to do that, and just let it all go and trust that everything will work out just the way it's supposed to anyway.
The trust is hard. The faith is hard. And I know when I hear the word faith, or when I used to hear the word faith, I used to get like a response to it, because when you think faith, like and again, I have respect for everybody's belief systems, but there was like an organized religion thing there for me.
Mm-hmm.
And they're telling me I have to believe in X, Y, and Z. And what I came to realize was the true faith is really in myself. And when I have true faith in my, what I call, and this is actually in the 10 Rex book, my personal emotional guidance system, my emotions were gifted to me upon, on my birth, all of us, but I'm speaking for myself, they were gifted to me as a navigation system, right? If something feels good, truly good, then I should be doing more things like that. If something feels icky, then that's fear-based. Then I should be steering away from that. So, good is love-based and icky is fear-based, and that helps navigate me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that, I see you writing. So that's what it comes down to for me, just really have faith in myself, faith in my own emotional guidance system. But that comes with cleaning out the gunk of the chakras. When we address whatever it is our irrational belief systems are, when we address the source of them, when we realize that they're nothing but irrational, then recognize the patterns, we will then delete the patterns based on addressing that our belief was irrational. And then we could start to have more faith in our decision making, because it's not masked with the fear and the survival mode and the, but I shouldn't do ... or what would so-and-so think? You begin to let go of all of that and just be who you are. And when you be who you are, magic happens every day. It's awesome.
I love that. So how did you clear the gunk from within you to be able to see what it is you truly wanted and what your passion?
So how spiritualists, you'll often hear words like, you got to do the work, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I think, and this is the WooWoo book touches on this, think that the work is outside of themselves, right? Like when people begin to recognize their spirituality, and I'm not saying rituals and practices aren't great and important and tools and stuff like that, but when you rely solely on them, then you don't really rely on yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the work isn't just sound bowls, and it isn't just, card reading, and it isn't just all of those things that we use. It is the making the difficult decisions that honor your worthiness. So first you have to discover your worthiness, and then you have to honor that worthiness by making the decisions that are best for you. So you asked how I did it. So it started with, I had my firstborn, right? So a lot of people say, I became a mother. But when I gave birth to her, I, for the first time, not only understood unconditional love, and I was almost 40. I was 38 when I had Nala. I was 39 when I had my second child. And when I began to mother her, I started to see my mother for truly who she was. The writing was on the wall for my father. Like there was I call it the legend of Joe Sardano. Like everybody, the story of how my father was this, that, and he was abusive, and it was toxic, and it was uncomfortable, and we had been estranged. So we already knew that narrative. But my mother, I didn't have a narrative other than she was my mother. And then I got to see her for who she was. And then I started in my life, now we're going back 13 years, making decisions that were best for me. And every time I did that, my life got a little bit better, that I aligned with things that were a little bit better. Make sense? So just to give you one, for instance, because I'm pretty sure that that's, that's the obvious question. My girl's birth father, my husband has adopted my children. He is their father. He adopted them in 2015, part of the magic that I call my life. But when I had my children, I had them with a man who was close to 10 years younger than me, a bit of a flight risk. I mean, I knew, I understood what I was getting, but I didn't know my worthiness. And I got pregnant and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have these beautiful children, or child, then children.
Mm-hmm.
And after we split up because of, some misgivings, there's cheating, there was all of the things that clearly were a part of my alignment, if you will.
Yeah.
And so these things happen, but I kept them in my life because I didn't want to repeat the pattern of abuse and neglect for my children. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept them in my life. And through this relationship, it just kept getting progressively worse. Like he would show up and then not show up. He didn't have a dime, like he wasn't supporting them, like all of those things. And I finally took a stand after he disappeared for like a month because whatever hair he got up his ass, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah.
And disappeared got a new girlfriend, and anybody listening knows the drill. I don't have to get into the, Jerry Springer details, but it looked like that, right? And I am like the hamster on the wheel trying to make sure that everything is perfect for my children because I don't want to relive the pattern, but yet I'm perpetuating the pattern by accepting this. Even my husband, when he came in, was open to this sort of open family where we do holidays together, so on and so forth. Anyway, learning my self-worth through other experiences, I finally put my foot down, said, no more, get a lawyer. You don't step into this house again until you get a lawyer, we're done. And took him a year to get a lawyer, so didn't see the kids for a year. And then there were some other instances that happened. Again, the details don't matter, but he wound up, this began in the spring of 2013. By the summer of 2015, he signed them over. Now, why is this the work? Because I had to face everybody else's opinion of, oh, but the children need their father. Oh, but how could you do this? Oh, but and all of these things. But I knew in my heart that I understood the evidence. I understood his behavior, and I understood that this would continuously be this way if I don't hold him accountable. And I did. And as a result, it turned out the way it turned out. And now my husband is their father. We live in this beautiful home. There's very little, I say little dysfunction because we all get a little bit of a twinge, you know what I mean? But there's no toxicity. It's beautiful. My children, you meet them, they glow like lightning bugs. Like they're amazing because they live with security. Their root chakra is stable. Their sacral chakra is stable. Their solar plexus chakra is stable. They live in a loving home with loving parents. And even their birth father's narrative, I explained to them because they were very young. This man loves you. If he didn't love you, he understands he can't be the father, the daddy. I spoke to them obviously in their terms, but like my children understood from a very young age that this man loved them. He didn't leave because he didn't love them. He left them because he understood he couldn't father them in the way that they needed, in the way that they deserved. And he was courageous enough to step aside and allow Rob to come in and father them properly, or what's in their best, their best interest. And so they look at Lewis as this guy who gifted them us, So yeah, I kind of went off the rails with that a little bit, but that's part of the work. I had to make those difficult decisions, and I became more heart-centered because of it, because I did it for the right reasons. I stuck to my guns. I ignored the critics, and it just continued after that. Leaving my job, my head of schools looked me right in the face and said, basically, like, when pigs fly, how are you going to make 6 figures? How are you going to make any money doing this? One of my first paintings after I left is a flying pig, like as an homage to, pigs fly, baby. But those are the decisions, because how many people said to me, what are you doing? Crazy people do this. I'm like, okay.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So where did you find the what do you call it? I want to say gumption, but that's not the word I'm looking for either. The tenacity to say, the heck with you guys, I'm going to do what it is I need to do for me because this feels right for me and move forward anyway. Where did that come from?
I don't even know. I got to tell you, I've always been like, sort of like the hold my beer. You know what I mean? Like I've always been like, oh, watch me. Like I've always been like that. But, you know, it's funny. We all have these gifts, these superpowers, and, you know, you use it for good or for evil. So because I was, you know, less balanced than I am now, I got into a lot of trouble. You know what I mean? Like telling the cop, no, I'm not leaving, you know, like things like that. And then winding up, Google me, you'll see my mugshot. I was 25. My hair was fantastic though. I mean, it wasn't a proud moment, but the hair was awesome. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
That's hard to do, to have fantastic hair in a mugshot. Now, let me tell you.
Yeah, I was all like, So, so I was always like this. You know, we joked when we first got on the call that, you know, I'm from Jersey, you can't tell, you know, so I got that Italian in me. Like, it's definitely a way of being, but the trust and faith in myself came in baby steps. Like I started like making these decisions that weren't based in fear, that were like, no, I really think I could do this. And then I would pull it off. And I'm like, I didn't know I had that in me. And then I would do another thing. And then it kind of became where I was like, there's nothing I can't do as long as it's with the good intention and I take action. And I have to learn, and I'm still learning this. It's like one of those things that I fall back on. I still kind of force things when they're like not moving in the direction I want them to go. And I've learned no, allow, because it will always show itself to you. Like what you need. Like I learned that I have everything I need. I always have all the resources I need in that moment. And so when I'm feeling stuck, I'm just like, okay, don't force it, back up, it'll show itself. It always does. And that goes back to the faith in yourself, the faith in what you're doing is the right thing.
That I so needed to hear that right now. So thank you.
Oh, good. Oh, yay.
Chuck is using you to speak to me. Yay. So you're an artist, and then you're also an author.
Yeah.
Which is phenomenal.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, where did that come from?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. So the first one is 10 recommendments.
Yes.
Which I love the word recommendments because it is a cool word to say. So everybody say it, 10 times real fast. Recommendments. It's awesome. So tell us a little bit about that book. What is 10 Recommendments about?
So it's the entire title is called 10 Recommendments for Personal Empowerment. And what I did and what I've learned along the way, and this is for everybody. Everything that we do is in preparation, obviously, for what's next, right? And I learned how to take my creativity, my background as an educator, my intuition, and create things out of it. Again, create art, create business, create gallery, all of that. And so 10 Recommendments is, I've taken what I call, the dumpster fire or shit show that I came from, what I learned along the way, making the difficult decisions, and the pearls of wisdom that I gleaned from making these decisions. And I've written it in sort of, again, the teacher part of me, in sort of like a how-to, like instructional format, but also the storyteller. I've taken the anecdotes of my life and things that have happened. That's why I call it a loose autobiography, because it isn't A to Z, and creating taking these 10 pearls of wisdom that I gleaned and creating this, again, this sort of how-to book and how people could do it for themselves. But I'm very, very clear in the book that we all have our own story. This happens to be my story. But your story, Amy, is very different than mine. You know what I mean? But the principles are the same, right? Set your boundaries, have self-love, be respect, all of those things, they're universal. We just put our own stink on it, right? So I'm very, very clear. I'm not a guru standing on the top of the hill telling you what to do. I'm just saying, this is what I did. This is what it looks like. This is what I gleaned. And if you can apply it, the principles, not obviously, the details, to your life experience, I don't command you do it, but I recommend you do it because I think they're pretty good ideas. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that's how. So the title showed up because there happened to be 10, and I was like, the 10 recommendments. You know,
Yes, I love it. I love it. I mean, that's so, it's very poetic and play on words, and I just I love play on words.
Are you searching for a deeper connection with the unseen world? Well, then look no further. I am Amy Gray-Cunningham, and I invite you to explore the realms beyond the ordinary. As a gifted medium, I've spent years honing my abilities to bridge the gap between our world and the spirit realm. My unique approach to mediumship combines intuition, empathy, and a profound understanding of the unseen energies around us. Through a mediumship session, I can help you connect with your loved ones who have passed on, providing comfort, healing, and profound insights. Whether you're seeking closure, guidance, or simply a sense of peace, my mediumship sessions provide a secure and nurturing space for you to delve into the mysteries of the afterlife. Join me today on a transformative journey as I channel messages from the other side, offering validation, clarity, and a profound sense of connection to those who have crossed over. Book your mediumship session with me today. A typical session lasts about 50 minutes, giving us ample time to connect and for you to experience the power of a spiritual connection. So visit my website at amygraycunningham.com to schedule your session. Now get ready to unlock the healing that awaits you.
And you've also written Decoding, get this people, the WooWoo.
Yes. So this one chronicles the my experience from the time I chose to quit my job and pursue this life as an artist. It's called Beyond the 10 because it's what happened after the 10 commandments, decoding the WooWoo. And the reason I call it decoding the WooWoo, and Amy, please tell me if you've had this experience where people who are not on the fringe, right? People who are a little bit more mainstreamy or could be put off by spirituality and spiritual practices and find that people are like weird and like dancing in the woods with crystals and under the moonlight. And it really, when people, and then people in the spiritual community will use words like vibration and frequency and alignment and chakras and all of these words. And it's intimidating for those who aren't, I guess, in the know. So I was always put off by when I heard spiritualists use these words. I'm like, oh, like when I say alignment, I still always roll my eyes, and I use the word all the time, you know, because I found people were reading books, watching YouTube videos, adopting the vernacular, not embodying it, and it felt insincere to me, right? So I quit my job in 2017. I decided that I'm going to move into the woods. We moved into the woods, painting for 2 years. My husband bought a shed, large shed, and he totally maxed it out. You know, the air conditioning unit, the floor, the what's it called? Whatever, doesn't matter. Sheetrock, you know, everything to make it wonderful for me. And I painted for 2 years until I wound up here in the gallery. Again, I'm obviously leaving a lot out. Painted in the woods, and now here I am in the gallery. But in that experience, it was like this return to nature. You return to nature, you return to yourself, right? So this return to nature, I'm embracing truly what's in my heart. In my head, I'm going to be a successful artist because at that time I have to prove to everybody, right? Like I have to prove that, I'll show you guys, pigs fly, the whole nine. But I began to open up spiritually without even realizing it. And I started meeting the right people at the right time. And I started seeing life in a different way. And just every time I would, again, make another decision that was in my best and highest good, I would have another experience that aligned with that. And as this began to happen, I really became unintentionally and accidentally immersed in the spiritual community. Right now I'm discovering my own gifts other than, the ones that aren't so obvious. And again, meeting people that are extremely gifted. Like I joke when I'm in the gallery, people are like, do you have psychic mediums here? I'm like, you can't swing a cat in this place without hitting a psychic medium. So, Reiki healers were falling out of the sky. Like I hadn't even heard of Reiki before 2016. And now everybody I meet is a Reiki healer, right? So I start to become aligned with this. So the book, Decoding the WooWoo, chronicles these experiences and how I grew and developed since I left and became this artist. And I'm one of those people that I have the experience and then learn what it is. You know what I mean? Like I'll have this beautiful like epiphany and then like I'll go online and I'll see a meme and like Aristotle said it. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. So I was uncovering what these words meant by my experience before I was being introduced to them in a book, if that makes any sense. Yep. I stumbled across Abraham Hicks also, and I learned like about the concept of energy and how, and all of that. And so all of these things were happening. So the book talks about what these words meant to me in the experience that I experienced to uncover what this terminology meant. And I also utilize my background in education. I also taught history for years. So, my experiences, what I've learned about, Far Eastern, religions and philosophies and incorporated in that. And so I essentially decode these woo-woo terms and try to make it, real enough so our people like me or who I was 10 years ago can go, oh, right, that makes sense.
Bring it into a level where people can understand it universally.
Universally. And it's not just that 2% with the crystal in the hand under the moonlight going, yeah, I get you. No, this is really, and I don't want to go off on, in this direction because I don't know enough about it. But, I know people who are, have a very, very strong background in Bible study. And so they'll talk about the Bible chapter and verse, and I see it energetically. I'm like, oh my God, like this totally makes sense. So you could even bridge the gap between, real devout Christian beliefs and certain things energetically and go, you could interpret it this way. So I find, talk about purpose. I think my purpose, I feel like part of my purpose is to help bridge the gap between what feels unattainable, whether it be leaving a job and following your bliss, whether it be, really being happy in your life and comfortable in your body, or whether it be, certain belief systems, and bridging the gap between those who don't see it and those who are over here. So that's, with my writing, that's really what I intend on doing and what I think I do.
I love that because that's totally where I'm at with that. How do you see your life today?
Oh my God, it's amazing. It's amazing. I use the word magical too much, but every day I watch miracles and magic happen, and everybody's definition or impression of what those words mean, is a little bit different. But when you begin to see the world with a more like a broader scope, when you increase your awareness, again, words that I roll my eyes, and when you become aware, when you wake up, decoding the woo-woo, but when you really expand your awareness, and I had to learn to slow down and be aware, it's everywhere. The miracles and the magic in life is everywhere. People talk about manifesting, another eye roll word for me. I want to manifest. I made my vision board, and how come I didn't get my stuff? But when you truly understand energetically how to do that and how to be in that state of being to do that, it shows up. It shows up in the grand scheme. It shows up little things. Like I always joke, if I could manifest a sandwich at Starbucks, I can manifest anything, So, like I was looking at the sandwich. I was like, I want that. And the guy's like, hey, do you want this? I turned to my husband. I'm like,
it's mine.
Yeah. So when you begin to truly understand, and that's what the both books really focus on, truly understand that the power is in our hands. We just need to know how to use that power, how to harness it, how to embrace it. And when we learn how to do that, we could all live in this world that I live in. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
So I'm going to ask the $99 question. How do you harness the energy?
I think it begins with understanding that you're worthy. I think first and foremost, we along the way, and again, going back to the banged up chakras, have learned that it's out of reach for us, or we don't even realize what our belief systems are if we're not looking at them, that for some reason we're not worthy. For some reason, this always happens to me. For some reason, I always get taken advantage of. Why can't I be and these are all my thoughts that I've had, so I'm not just pulling these out of thin air. Why can't I find love and so can? How come I meet these guys and they just want to mistreat me? And I have to go back and figure out, well, what is it about you that believes you deserve that? Otherwise, it wouldn't even be in your sphere of influence. So I think that it begins with clearing out the gunk. And that's again what the first book is about, clearing out the gunk, understanding that we all these babies, no baby comes out of the womb and says, grows up to, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I want to abuse my children. You know what I mean? I want to be in prison, or I want to have a drug addiction. Like, nobody does that. All these babies are born, these perfect little bundles of love. And then whatever their life circumstances mold their belief systems. So many of us, especially in our age range, many of us have to undo the brokenness, right? We have to undo that. But once we do, we then have to be aware of our children, aware of the young people, and bring them up with a different way of being, a different perspective. Like I said, I am not the perfect parent. My husband calls me Mothy, calls me Mother of the Year, because I say and do things all the time. He's like, oh my God, Mother of the Year. I'm by far not perfect by any means. But the one thing that I do that I really am proud of is I make sure that their self-esteem and their personal accountability and their self-awareness, make sure all of that is intact, because if they can grow up with aligned chakras, I keep referring to the chakras, but you know what I mean? You could compare it to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You can look at it any way you want, but if they are safe and secure and loved, then they will not have to reverse the damage that we, us poor saps, that we have to undo. But it's not out of our reach. It's not out of our reach, period.
You say that, and it's, I think about the fact that you are changing future generations by changing who you are today, because you're making choices for your children that are having a loving impact on them. And when they grow up and they have children, they will maybe learn new ways or improve on the ways that they were raised.
Yeah. And, when you talk about like light workers, right? And everybody thinks that the purpose is to go out and, preach the gospel, for lack of a better way of doing it, like help the world. And how are we going to live our purpose and make the world a better place? It's so cliche, but truly it begins with us. If I didn't believe my worthiness, and I didn't do the work that it takes to bring myself to a place of being well, happy, and whole, and work on it every day, because you take your eye off the ball, you waver, you know what I mean? To be well, happy, and whole, then I wouldn't be the mother I am. I wouldn't be the friend that I am. I wouldn't be the wife that I am, right? I wouldn't be the coworker that I am, whatever it is. And I then impact my immediate sphere of influence. So if you look at the world, like all these points of light, right? We're all these points of light, but each one of our light, through our own self-care and self-care, our light gets a little bit brighter, right? Then the sky gets a little bit brighter. Eventually our lights are touching one another and the entire sky is bright. I don't need to go out and try to light everybody else's light, because then mine goes out. I just need to be bright, and then the others will eventually connect.
You are the lighthouse in the storm.
Yeah.
Your light allows others to come into shore.
Yep. And that's
Mhm.
all of our light. And some of our
Mhm.
lights are dim right now. I mean, there's a lot going on in the world, but it just starts with a simple statement. What can I do in this moment to get closer to contentment in this moment? It could be as simple as, my coffee cooled off. Let me go pop it in the microwave. Ooh, that feels good. It could be that simple. You could be in a miserable relationship. It could be as simple as acceptance.
Mhm.
What can I do in this moment? Because I am worthy of feeling better than this.
Worthiness is a sticky subject to talk about, because I think for a lot of women, and I'm sure men too, but for a lot of women, we are made to feel, well, not made to feel, because we have to own that, but
Yeah.
growing up, that we're not as good as someone else, because we're always, at least for me, I was always comparing myself to, oh, well, she has the cuter boots, or she has the longer hair, or she has the hotter boyfriend, or, and that's not me. And so I was always comparing myself to other people. And so I felt like my worthiness was this,
Yeah.
this
Yep.
was very small. And so it's really, it's hard for women to say. And also because I think, raising children, we tend to always think, well, we have to put everybody else before us.
Yep. Yep.
And then we get pushed to the back. I mean, I watched my mother do that with us growing up.
It's right there though. But there
Yeah.
you go. We're conditioned. So you have
Yeah.
your implicit conditioning and your explicit conditioning. Your implicit is you watched your mother do it.
Yeah.
Your explicit is your mother saying, hey, you got to sacrifice yourself in order to be loved, or whatever it is.
Mhm.
And again, because I see it in the books. In the first book, I focus on all of that. If we can, and that's the gunked up chakras. It doesn't have to be a major trauma. It's a belief system we carry. If you learn just from watching your mother that you have to be everything to everyone, I mean, it looks noble, it feels noble, right? Because everybody else is happy, but you never truly learned your own boundaries and that you matter too, and all of this. And so what do? Every pattern in your life, you're exhibiting that. But if we go back with our adult brain, right, our over 40 brain, like we are adults. And if we go back and go, you know what, where did I even pick this up? What is my earliest memory of this? Well, I remember when I was little, my father would get up from the table. He would go, he would sit, grab the remote, probably no remotes. He would go and he would sit and he would watch TV. If I'm being honest. So he would go and he would sit and watch TV. My brother would go do whatever. And my mother would clean the table and I would help her because I was the girl. Well, how rational is that? Or what belief did I take from that? Well, I believe that it's my role to cater to the men of my life. Oh my God, right? It's my role. How rational is that? Like what? And then answer myself with an adult brain. Why don't men cater to women? Like, who even made that rule? Why is my mother even like that? Well, her mother was like that. But yeah, but does that mean that that's the end all? And you start questioning, right? Like you asked earlier, where did I get this gumption? Use the word gumption, like I was always a bit of a maverick, but I always asked the questions a little too much, where I got a little bit in trouble when I was a kid. I was like the mouthy one, if you haven't picked up on that already. But we're allowed to ask those questions. And when we ask them and we say, is that a rational belief? Is it rational that the women should cater to the men? And again, I'm just using this as an example. I am by no means a hater of the men, but is this? No, this is not. Oh my God, look at all these places it showed up in my life. Oh my God, how can I shift that to a rational belief? A rational belief is symbiosis is the healthiest form of a relationship. It doesn't have to be apples to apples, but if I do for you, I receive something in return. It's just that symbiosis, right? And that is really the stage of a healthy relationship. Well, how can I apply that to my life? And then baby steps. What can I do in this moment? Let's not overwhelm ourselves and be like, I have to change every relationship and but how can we change these things? Because we, again, realize that our lack of worthiness is irrational, right?
Mhm.
Because I'm worthy enough to do so.
So if you could go back and talk to that 10, 11, 12-year-old Dana and give her some advice, what
Yeah.
would you say to her?
I would say, and I cannot believe you just asked me this question because it's the forward of Decoding the WooWoo. I swear, oh, I'm all chills up my back. Ooh, ooh, even in the fun parts, I get all chills.
That question didn't come from me. I just have
Oh
to
my
do
God, I was
that.
just gonna make the joke. I think I know who that is. But
Funny.
I don't remember it verbatim. I'm not going to try to quote it, but somebody about a year or so ago asked me a similar question. If you could go back to your 12-year-old person, what would you ask them? And the forward in my book says, here's the advice I would give to my children who were 11 and 12 at the time: to know that you are as beautiful and as loving and as creative as you think you are, and to ignore those who say anything other than that. And if you continue to embrace that about yourself, then the world is yours. And again, it's not verbatim, but that's really my message. The world is yours. It is okay to love yourself. You hear the word selfish, right? And we're all like, because we were conditioned. What if the word was gobbledygook? It would have no meaning to us. But we were conditioned to put emphasis on that word selfish. Selfish is bad. No, it's not. Maybe we should come up with a different word. But because I'm selfish, I thrive. It doesn't mean I step on others. It doesn't mean that I don't give back. It means I have more to give back because I am overflowing now. So yeah, I'm selfish. So, and now as a result, look, you get to reap the rewards of my selfishness because I'm bigger, better, stronger because of it.
So beautifully said. I got chills as you were talking and tears. I was like,
oh, because
yes.
It speaks to you, right?
Yes, it does. It does. It does. I think that would be one of the things I would tell my 12-year-old self as well. Just be you.
Be you. It's okay.
Yeah.
I said to my 11-year-old, it was just yesterday, I think. I'm like, oh my God, she comes down for school in the morning. I'm like, oh my God, you look so cute. She's like, and I'm not in a jerky way. She's like, I know. And then she goes, I always look cute. And I was like, oh my goodness. To have that kind of confidence. And again, it's not in an obnoxious way. She just knows because nobody's ever told her not to know.
Isn't that great? That is so great.
Yeah.
Good for you, Mom. Good for you.
It's definitely, I will take that and say thank you, because it's definitely my of all of the achievements, it's my proudest to see these girls. They glow like glow bugs, and they're at that age where they're like, kids are hiding behind their hoodies. Yeah, I mean, they're 11 and 13. Think about what that looked like for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I was getting in fist fights. I mean, again, if you Google me, you'll see the mugshot. But my
do that to see how good the hair was.
Yeah, right. Oh my God, it was the mid-90s, so it was all sorts of Def Leppard. It was something.
Gotta love the big hair of the 90s.
Oh yeah.
Oh my good gracious.
And from Jersey, and I was from Jersey, so I had the double.
Oh,
yeah.
One of the Jersey gals.
Jersey, it's scrappy.
I love it. I love it. Well, Dana, how can people find you? Where can they find you at?
I appreciate you asking me that. So Ubuntu Fish Gallery is the name of my gallery. I'm sure it'll be written somewhere.
Yes.
Right.
It'll be in the show notes.
Yeah. So I do intuitive guidance. I also create art, obviously. But my newest endeavor is with finduniquelyyou.com. My dear friend from college, she was actually, I was like a pledge trader. She was like my pledge, like I was the pledge mom, and she was, and we're friends, and we disappeared for like almost 30 years. And she showed up in my life a few years ago with this brilliant idea, finduniquelyyou.com. And to you, like the letter U. And her idea was to create a platform that allowed for people who have a passion, who are living their best life, who have, overcome whatever it is, and to be able to bring that to others. And we do it through workshops. We do it through like cute little events, you know what I mean? We call it the lighthouse, but these cute little events that are like, we have a book of angel numbers, like 1 to 1,000. So we have an open house coming. Oh, actually, the open house is $8.62. And so because the angel number was 862, right? And then, so we have those, so people could peek behind the curtain for a low, for inexpensive means. But then we also have these workshops that these people come in that, like me, I teach a workshop on 10 commandments. I teach a couple of mini workshops, like 3-hour workshops, but I teach one 8-hour workshop over 4 weeks, going through 10 commandments and helping people walk through their struggle. And we have so many people. We have 7 different schools of thought. We have the School of Metaphysics, School of Empowerment. It Takes a Village for the children, Kitchen Sink for things that don't fit in there, School of Creative Expression, the School of Thrivelihood, like for people who want to leave their jobs and they don't have certain skills, but they have something that they want to do, Pharmacy School with an F for the plant-based and the people that are about nutrition and health. And so the platform allows people to come together as a community. It allows people that have something to share it. And it allows people that want to gain from this kind of community, but are not yet ready to share, to become members and become a part of it. And then in solidarity, Ubuntu, if you will, 'cause that's my thing, to come together and to grow and to make the world a better place through their individual endeavors and through this sense of community.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I am so going to check that out.
You really, really should. I stumbled on the open house because I understand that this will air after the open house. And so that's why I stumbled. I was like, wait a minute, but you and I would like to speak to you after, because I really think you should check it out, because I feel like, and you could ask Chuck, I feel like there's something in this for you, because it's really, really special. If you can hear me, like anybody who's listening and you could hear me, I know you could hear the sincerity, and I know you could hear the authenticity, because that's who I am. So I know you could hear it. So imagine a community of people, Angela DeMarco, the founder, the brainchild of all this. Imagine these people coming together and uplifting and supporting one another. And people have asked me, but can you do that in an online format? You know what I mean? To really connect with people. We have instructors in Australia, in Mumbai, in England, in Greece, in Canada, all over the US.
Wow.
I tell you, I have such a love affair with these people and have never met them. And even you and I, like we have connected. I feel that I've connected with you.
Definitely.
So to have this format, this platform where these people can come together, and then we have a chat feature where we can interact with each other after the class is over or after the workshop is over, between the week. Like I have my class, because some classes are like just a 3-hour workshop. You have several weeks. The course that I'm doing now, Tuesday will be the 4th of 4. And between the classes, because they're once a week, like I get on my classes in the chat and I interact with them. Did you do your homework? Did you ask yourself, did I do something today that brings me closer to contentment? Did you journal? And we're creating this community. It's amazing.
Oh, I love it. Yes, I definitely want to talk with you about that after the show, because there's definitely room to work together. So one last question.
Yes.
That I ask everyone. So I'm going to ask you.
Okay. All right.
If you have an hour to sit and talk with someone in your favorite spot, your favorite location, whether it's in the woods or in your gallery, and you could talk with them for an hour and that person be on this side of the veil or the other, who would it be and what would you talk about?
Oh. I'm all chills. Like they're all like, pick me. So I have to be completely honest, and I know I can say this to you because of who you are and what you do, but I have the honor to be able to speak with whoever on the other side of the veil.
Mhm.
And if I feel disconnected or unable, again, remember, you can't swing a cat around here without
Mhm.
somebody being able to do so. So like I said, I have been given the gift of being able to connect with pretty much anybody I wanted.
Mhm.
But I've heard this question before, and years ago when having run across this question, I always said Jesus, because I always believed in and I don't know why I grew up Roman Catholic, but I never really was attached to that religion. But again, once again, respected people believe what they believe, but I always felt that Jesus was so much more than he has been portrayed, and that he was a revolutionary, and he was he was cool. He was
Yeah.
cool, and his message was about love and joy. And so I always said, I want to sit down with Jesus, and I want to hear what he has to say about all this. Well, I have since sat down with Jesus, but you're still my number one. But would sit down and have the conversation of what was your intention, and really, what was it like during those times in Judea when the Roman Empire, was so cruel and heartless and oppressive, and how would you compare that to what's going on in our world today, and do the principles and the beliefs and what you preached, what you lived by, how does it stand in modern times? And so those are the type of questions that I would ask, that I have asked, and that like I said, I can say Elvis, but we've had a chat or two. my father, I can't get him to hang up the phone. But yeah, for sure, Jesus.
Yeah, my dad's always yakking as well, and he's laughing at me, but he's always around as well.
Yeah, it's
loves-
funny because my father, we were very similar just in our disposition, and my friends who actually direct channel, like he'll come through and be like, listen, kid, like you're very like, hey, like my friend Anne Marie, she's all of like 5 foot nothing, and just a little like beach blonde type, and she's smacking her leg. I could almost see the cigar coming out of her mouth. And it's just really, really funny how you are who you are, whether you're in body or not. It's really, really fascinaing.
Do not lose your personality. That is for sure.
That is for sure. So my father, if he's got something he's got to say, my friends will call me up and be like, listen, your father is up my ass because you're not listening. And I'm like, okay, yeah.
It's funny. My friend Dana's, her father comes through all the time, and her mother, and I'm constantly calling her, Dana, guess what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a message for you.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Oh yeah, we definitely need to speak. I would love to expand our just our circle. So those lights, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bigger and bigger. Well, Dana, thank you so much for joining us on Butterfly Kisses. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I cannot wait to see what comes next for you, for me, for us, and for everyone else around. But thank you for shining your light so brightly and being authentically you, uniquely you, and sharing your light with us today.
Oh, Amy, thank you. You're a doll. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining us today. Thank you for tuning in to Butterfly Kisses podcast, a journey of spiritual transformation. We hope today's episode has sparked new thoughts, offered fresh perspectives, or simply entertained you. Remember, the conversation doesn't have to end here. Connect with us on social media, share your thoughts, and stay engaged. Also, share it with a friend. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep embracing the journey of spiritual transformation. Take care, and we'll catch you on the next episode. See ya!